Hey everyone, it's Lars here, and welcome back to Retro Paddock. Now, in my last video about the Seat Cupra GT, I mentioned that the car kind of reminded me of the GT1 cars of the late 90s. The only problem being that by the time the Cupra GT came around, GT1 was no longer a thing. So today, I thought I'd take a look at one of the cars that are responsible for that. But first, a little history. The GT1 class was conceived in the mid-90s to kind of fill the void that was left at the end of Group C. And by 1996, there was one car clearly dominant, the McLaren F1 GTR. Now, Porsche had entered GT1 in 1996 with the 911 GT1, and then for 1997 with the start of the FIA GT Championship, Mercedes entered in the GT1 class with this, the CLK GTR. And after a bit of a rocky start to the season, they ended up dominating for most of it, even taking the title at the end. And in 1998, they ended up winning every race of the championship, partly with the CLK GTR, and partly with an updated version called the CLK LM, which they had introduced at the non-championship 24 Hours of Le Mans, which was the only race that Mercedes did not win that season. Porsche ended up winning, because the Mercedes cars retired due to technical issues. And luckily for us sim racers, we have a pretty decent Assetto Corsa mod of the CLK GTR, the URD Morris GTR 97. And that's what I'm going to drive today. Let's go. Now, the way that this car is kind of to blame for killing GT1 is because due to that massive dominance by Mercedes in 1998, as I mentioned, they won every championship race in FIA GT that year. And as a result of that, there were so few sign-ups for GT1 from 1999 that the FIA and SRO decided to just scrap the class entirely for 1999. And the former GT2 class, which had been racing alongside the GT1 class, that became simply GT. But then a bunch of years later, 2005, that class, the former GT2 class, was renamed GT1. And what had happened there was that in 2000, the FIA GT Championship became a two-class championship again, when below the GT class they added the NGT class. And in 2005 then they renamed both classes. The GT class was renamed GT1 and the NGT class was renamed GT2. That, in terms of performance, was more comparable to GT3 these days. In fact, one of the cars featured in the GT2 class then, in the new GT2 class, was the Porsche GT3. Yeah, back to old GT1 and to the Mercedes CLK GTR. The engine in this is a naturally aspirated 6-liter V12, produced 600 horsepower. It's mid-engined. And there was actually a road car version of this I think they made 25 versions. 25. Not versions. There were 2 different versions of this car. Because so they produced 25 road-going coupes, and then also a few roadsters of this. I actually have the road-going version of this, the coupe version. I also have that as an Assetto Corsa mod, I think. Now, after the GT1 class was scrapped, Mercedes did produce a successor to the CLK LM, which was the successor to this one, but it was extremely similar to this. The successor to the CLK LM was the now infamous CLR. And that's the car that flipped at Le Mans in 1999. And also, you can probably see that there is one issue with this mod. And I'm talking, of course, about the windscreen wiper. It moves about in a very weird way. I didn't turn the windscreen wiper on. Does that all in its own due to the arrow. I don't know why. Still, it doesn't take away from the driving experience of this car. It feels great to drive. Very intense and quite tricky on the throttle. Especially because it doesn't have traction control. So it can be really tricky out of some slow corners. It's certainly a fun car to drive. And by the way, URD also made the 1997 version of the Porsche 911 GT1. Which I think is called the Darsha 97 Evo. You know, the 1998 version of the GT1 is in Assetto Corsa. I haven't found the 1996 version yet. But the Porsche GT1 never reached the success of this car. In fact, this car, even on its debut at Hockenheim in 1997, on the inaugural race of the FIA GT Championship, because previously it was called, I think it was the BPR Global Series until 1996. Now this car on its debut, it's got a pole position, but both cars then had mechanical issues, I think with the brakes during the race. So one car actually DNF'd, and the other finished like 27th, I think. I'm gonna do one more lap. Yeah, they had a bit of a rocky start to the 1997 season, but then pretty much dominated. And then went on to entirely dominate 1998. Well, they started with this car, then switched to the CLK LM, which does look very, very similar. I think the CLK LM actually still sits a little bit lower. It has some aerodynamic differences. I think it might also have a different engine. I'm not sure. I'm gonna look it up and I'm gonna show it on screen. Last lap, 2 milliseconds slower than my fastest lap with this car around here. I was losing a bit of time at the end, I noticed that. Yeah, the Mercedes CLK GTR. Definitely an interesting car. And a car that's kind of responsible for the death of a class of racing cars. Kind of similar to the Porsche 917-30, which is known as the car that killed Can-Am. The good old Turbo Panzer, as it was nicknamed. The turbo tank. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. So, till next time, use the downforce, and see you soon.